Hare Krishna. So thank you all so much for joining. And today we are very, very fortunate to have His Grace Arjun Sakhā Prabhu with us to enlighten us on this wonderful topic of Chaitanya Bhagavata. But before handing over to Arjun Sakhā Prabhu, I would first like to announce that today is Prabhu's appearance day. So let's all congratulate him and let's all sing for him. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Arjun Sakhā Prabhu. Hare
Krishna to you.
May you always chant Hare Krishna. May you always chant Hare Krishna. May you always chant Hare Krishna. Go back to Godhead. And take us also back to Godhead with your nectarian kathas. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your association.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Now it's over to you. You can take the stage. So we'll be reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata. This is going to be Adi Khanda, chapter 13, verse number 59 to 68. Take over. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before I begin, I really want to thank all the devotees for very kindly praying for me and blessing me on my birthday. I wouldn't call it the appearance day. I would call it the birthday. I'm still conditioned and I'm still there in this chakra, samsara chakra of birth and death. But by all your prayers and blessings, I hope that one day we all can together, holding our hands, we all can together march our way back home, back to Godhead. Shripada Indra Prabhu would say, just before we get going, is it possible if the host can mute all the mics? Thank you. Shripada Indra Prabhu would say, when it was his birthday, I'm just repeating, these are not my realizations. This is Shripada Indra Prabhu. He would say, when devotees would wish him, Indra Prabhu would say, what is so happy about a happy birthday? We all say happy birthday. He would say, what is so happy? Till the time the jiva is conditioned, he is again going to take birth, death, old age, disease, and all the problems, all the anxieties, everything that comes like a baggage along with it. So he would very emphatically would say, what is happy? If someone is a Paramahamsa, then it is happy, because just in a few more years, he's going to go back home, back to Godhead. But then he would add by saying, the only thing that I see happy in a happy birthday is we are getting one more year closer back home, back to Radha Shyam Sundar in some lifetime. For some, it can be this lifetime, and for some other devotees, it can be a few more lifetimes. Says that's the only thing I see happy. Indra Prabhu would say, that's the only thing I see happy, that we are all attempting and we are all getting closer to Radha Shyam Sundar in some lifetime. That's the only thing happy. But the thing unhappy about it is we are all there in this body. We are all away from Krishna for so many lifetimes together, so many millenniums. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravishahitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. We are Govinda Vira. We are in separation from Govinda for lifetimes together. So Shripada Indra would always say these birthdays should be like a reminder to help us realize and help us become more serious that days and years are passing by, and how serious have we got on this path of Krishna consciousness. So once again, I thank all the devotees for very kindly blessing me and praying for me. And I hope to be of some service to the Vaishnava community for as much time as Srila Prabhupada and Srila Guru Maharaj bless and empower me. But I also pray to all the devotees to keep always praying for me, not just on this day, but kindly keep always praying for me throughout the year so that I can be of some service and my mind be constantly engaged in the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Please accept my very humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनेति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय. Thank you once again, dear devotees, for kindly joining. This is the Adi Khanda, chapter 13, which is entitled Defeating the Digvijay. That is Keshav Kashmiri. And we are reading from text 59 till text 68. Parama nirmala nisha purna chandravati kiba shobha haya chena bhagirati shishya sange ganga tire achena ishvara ananta brahmanda rupa sarva manohara. Translation: It was clear full moon night, and the Ganges looked most enchanting. As the Lord sat with his students, his attractive form was unmatched throughout innumerable universes. Commentary by Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Another reading of verse 59 is Hari Bali Gora Nache Bahutuli Jagamana Bandhala Karuna Bola Bali. Gaura danced with his arms raised while chanting Hari Bol. By his merciful chanting, he captured the minds of everyone. Though this verse is found in some editions, it is inappropriate at this juncture because it is inconsistent with the meaning of verses 52 and 68 of this chapter. Hasya Yukta Shri Chandra Vadana Anukshana Nirantara Divya Drishti Dui Shri Nayana. A smile decorated the Lord's moon-like face, and his beautiful eyes showered merciful glances. Muktajini Shri Dashana Aruna Muktajini Shri Dashana Aruna Adhara Dayamaya Sukhamalash Sarva Kalevara. His teeth defeated the luster of string of pearls, and his reddish lips resembled the color of the rising sun. He was full of compassion and all the limbs of his body were delicate. Text 63. Shri Mastake Suvalita Chanchara Shri Kesha Simha Griva Gajaskanda Vilakshana Vesha. His head was adorned with beautiful curly black hair. His dress was divine. His neck resembled that of a lion, and his shoulders were like those of an elephant. Commentary. The word Vilakshana means extraordinary or spiritual. Text 64. Suprakanda Shri Vigraha Sundara Hridaya Yagya Sutra Rupetahi Ananta Vijaya. His body was very large and his attractive chest was adorned by Lord Ananta in the form of a Brahmana thread. Sri Anantadev adorns the body of Sri Narayan as a sacred thread, one of the 10 forms in which he serves the Lord. Text 65. Shri Lalate Urdhava Suti Laka Manohara Agya Ulambhita Dui Shri Bhuja Sundara. An enchanting mark of tilak decorated his forehead, and his beautiful arms reached to his knees. Text 66. Yoga Patha Chande Vastra Kariya Bandhana Vama Uru Majhethui Dakshina Charana. The Lord wore his cloth like a sannyasi, and he sat with his right foot on his left thigh. Text 67. Karite achena prabhu shastrera vyakhyana hayanaya karena pramana. As the Lord explained the scriptures, he established correct statements as incorrect and incorrect statements as correct. Text 68. Aneka mandali hari sarva shishya gana chatura dikhe vaishya achena shushobhana. All of his students sitting around him in groups created an enchanting scene. Shri Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. You see in the Bhagavatam, very beautifully it is described in the 12th canto. The glories of Srimad Bhagavatam has been described. Nimnaganam yatha Ganga, Devanam achyuto yatha, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Purananam idam tatha. Nimnaganam yatha Ganga. Of all the rivers, Ganga is the topmost. And where is Nimai sitting? On the banks of Ganga. And Srila Prabhupada would add his realization to it by saying, yes, Ganga is glorious, but when that Ganga is purified 100 times, it is Yamuna, Prabhupada would say. So for all the rivers, Ganga is glorious. And Nimai performed so many pastimes on the banks of Ganga. Devanam achyuto yatha. And of the worshipable personalities, it is Achyuta or Sri Krishna. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Of the Vaishnavas, it is Shambhu or Lord Shiva. And Purananam idam tatha. Of all the Puranas, it is Bhagavat Mahapuran. It is Srimad Bhagavatam. And just like Srimad Bhagavatam is head and shoulders above any other scriptures, similarly, Chaitanya Bhagavat is not different from Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is the same author who has written about the same personality. Shri Krishna is coming down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vyasadeva is coming down as Vrindavan Das Thakur. Krishna Leela Bhagavat Kahe Veda Vyas Chaitanya Leela Ravyas Vrindavana Das Manushya Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vrindavana Das Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya. Manushya Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya. This book has not been written by normal Manushya. Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya. It is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is speaking and Vrindavan Das Thakur is the instrument. Vrindavan Das Thakur is writing down, but it is Mahaprabhu who is empowering him. But who is Vrindavan Das Thakur? Krishna Leela Bhagavat Kahe Vedavyas Chaitanya Leela Ravyas Vrindavana Das. That same Vyasadev who wrote Krishna Leela Bhagavat, the Srimad Bhagavatam, has now reincarnated as Vrindavan Das Thakur to write about the personality who has reincarnated in the mode of a devotee to taste the mood of Srimati Radharani, that is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this scripture that we have, Chaitanya Bhagavat, is not different from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we find that this Chaitanya Bhagavat was written by Vrindavan Das Thakur when he was in his 20s. In his late 20s, Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote this. And Chaitanya Bhagavat has about, just as far as numbers are concerned, Chaitanya Bhagavat has 3,000 verses more than even Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is more voluminous than Chaitanya Charitamrita. All written by a 20-year-old. This is what an Acharya does when he is in his 20s. In our 20s, 30s, 40s, we find it even to by heart verses and to read verses. I can at least say for myself, so many times when I read, I struggle by hearting verses and even reading verses. And Vrindavan Das Thakur in his 20s is writing this magnum opus. While another extreme is Kaviraj Goswami, who is writing Chaitanya Charitamrita in his late 80s. So on one side, you have Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is providing this treasure of Mahaprabhu's pastimes in his 20s. And on the other side, we have Kaviraj Goswami, who is presenting Chaitanya Charitamrita in his 80s. This is what an Acharya can do when he is young, in his 20s, and this is what an Acharya can do when he is in his fag end. People in their 80s can't even see, they can't walk, their senses are not perfect. And here is Kaviraj Goswami writing a whole scripture glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this example, in our case, Vrindavan Das Thakur is writing Chaitanya Bhagavat. Srila Prabhupada was once in his room, and he was there with Karandara Prabhu and Hridayananda Das Brahmachari at that time, not Maharaj. At that time, he was a Brahmachari. Prabhupada was there in his room, and Prabhupada took both of them to old India through memories. Prabhupada almost had a flashback. So he took them to old India, and Prabhupada was explaining as to how when he was small, he would do the Rath Yatra, how he would worship Radha and Govinda, how he was always very devoted to his father Gaur Mohan De. Prabhupada was taking them to his childhood, because most times Prabhupada would be very grave. Very few times where Prabhupada is in a very casual mood, Prabhupada would just remember his childhood. And Prabhupada was explaining, and only these two devotees were there in the room. And as Prabhupada was explaining, Prabhupada just paused and looked into the eye of Karandara Prabhu and Hridayananda Prabhu. And Prabhupada said, I was always like this. Never was there a time that I forgot Krishna. I was always like this. And Prabhupada said, do you understand? I was always like this. Prabhupada repeated it 2 times. Do you understand? I was always like this. It's not that now I am quote unquote an Acharya. Prabhupada said, I was always like this. Do you understand? And Hridayananda Maharaj in his memories, he quotes this pastime and he says, the gravity with which Prabhupada said, there was not even an iota of doubt. It is Satya. Satyam, Satyam, Puna Satyam. This is truth, truth and ultimate truth. Prabhupada was always an Acharya. It's just that in the fag end of his life, it was manifested. But Prabhupada was always like this. So Prabhupada took them to the old India and he was explaining, but out of nowhere, Prabhupada said, I was always like this. Do you understand? I was always like this. So Acharyas, one time one person asked Gaur Govinda Maharaj that, Maharaj, how do we understand who's an Acharya? How do we understand who's an Acharya? And how do we understand the birth of an acharya? How do we figure out an acharya? And how do we select an acharya? And Gaur Govinda Maharaj, when he heard this, Gaur Govinda Maharaj started laughing. In his typical Gaur Govinda Maharaj style, he started laughing and he said that, Are Baba, you don't select an acharya. Acharya rises. He is like the sun. He will rise when time will come. He will rise. You cannot select him. Gaur Govinda Maharaj said, can you select the sun? No. When time comes, he will rise. And when he rises, the whole world will understand he is the sun. Similarly, Gaur Govinda Maharaj said, Acharya is like the sun. You cannot select. He will rise. And when he rises, the whole world will realize it. And the whole world will have their heads at the lotus feet of that Paramahamsa. Prabhupada in the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains the meaning of Prabhupada. What is this word Prabhupada? Prabhupada says, this word Prabhupada, it means that personality at whose lotus feet, all the Prabhus take shelter. He who gives shelter to all the Prabhus at his lotus feet is Prabhupada. Because we see when Mahaprabhu, after the South India Yatra, comes back to Jagannath Puri, that is when his house has been arranged at the Gambhira, Kashi Mishra's house. I was almost about to say Keshav Kashmiri. At the house of Kashi Mishra, his house was arranged. And there, Mahaprabhu is addressed as Prabhupada. So Prabhupada writes a whole purport about what is the meaning of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is writing about Prabhupada. And then there Prabhupada writes, he at whose lotus feet, at Pada, all the Prabhus of this world take shelter. He is Prabhupada. And rightly we find Prabhupada is that personality where even till this date, so many generations have come, first generation, second generation, third generation of ISKCON, when we all have our preeminent Siksha Guru as Srila Prabhupada. So Acharya is never selected, he rises. And similarly, Vrindavan Das Thakur in his youth and Kaviraj Goswami in his old age have given this very beautiful scripture. And likewise, dear devotees, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes down, he comes down and he never forgets his identity, just like the Acharyas. They never forget their identity. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never forgets his identity. But more interesting is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or when the Supreme Lord comes down, he comes down with his associates. He never comes down alone. Swaparshada Sweya Dhama Saha Avatari. Swaparshada Sweya Dhama. He comes down with his own parshad, with his own associates. He never comes alone. And he gets every associate to teach a principle. These associates are coming down to preach a very strong principle. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings down Ramchandra Puri to this world to teach all of us the repercussion of Vaishnava Parada. Ramchandra Puri was so critical that he was critical of his Guru Maharaj also. This is height of criticism. Most times we see criticism is there amidst devotees, but we don't venture to criticize our Gurudev. But Ramchandra Puri was so critical, he criticized his Gurudev, that also when Gurudev was in the departing phase. He was departing this world and Ramchandra Puri criticized him. Mahaprabhu gets down Chota Haridas to teach us the repercussions of unrestricted association with the opposite gender. In Mahaprabhu's pastimes, we always find there is never free mixing of the two genders. Never. There is always that Maryada that is there. He is not Maryada Purushottam, but still he maintains Maryada. He never forgets those Maryada. At Srivasangan or any other place we find, he's always surrounded with male personalities. He always maintains that Maryada. There is never free mixing of the opposite gender. So he gets down Chota Haridas to teach us this principle. He gets Ramchandra Puri to teach us the principle of the repercussions of being critical. How Vaishnava Parad is so dangerous that it uproots the tree of Krishna consciousness. And he gets down Keshav Kashmiri to teach us this principle that how much ever erudite scholar we may be, how much ever big pandit we may be, how much ever verses we may know, how much ever shastra we may know, how much ever classes we may serve, but if there is lack of humility, it doesn't attract the Lord's heart. And more importantly, if there is a lack of humility, there is going to be humiliation. There are only two options, dear devotees. Either we humble ourselves, or second, Krishna will humble us. And between the two, the first is better. Better that we realize that Trinadapi Sunichan is the only way out. And we naturally try to become humble. But if we let Krishna humble us, the sad reality is Krishna is going to do the surgery without anesthesia. And it is going to be very, very painful. Surgery without anesthesia is going to be very painful. So either we humble us and realize that this is Mahaprabhu's teaching. Trunadapi sunichena, taroreva sahishnuna, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. But if we let Krishna or Gauranga Mahaprabhu do the surgery, it's going to be very painful. Mahatma Prabhu many times in a seminar has said this. Many times we pray for humility. But if we leave it up to Krishna, that my dear Krishna, you humble me, Krishna will say, yes, I will humble you. But that humility comes with a heavy price of humiliation. Humility and humiliation. And Keshav Kashmir is the best example. Very scholarly, very shastrik. He's a Digvijay Pandit. He knows maybe hundreds and thousands of verses, way more than what we know. He may have Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures by heart. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nimai Pandit crushed him to pieces. We will see this in the later verses. Mahaprabhu just crushes him into pieces. No mercy. His mercy is in the form of humiliation. His mercy is coming in the form of crushing him. So the aim of studying Shastra is for personal purification. But if the aim is not purification, if it is only to showcase our superiority over others, then this purification is going to take time. What is the example? Dhritarashtra Maharaj. Dhritarashtra Maharaj was hearing the same Bhagavad Gita, same real time, same verses from an exalted personality, Sanjaya. Sanjaya was not any normal person of the street. He was very qualified. He was very exalted. Same Bhagavad Gita, real time, same verses. But what happened? On one side, we see Arjuna is having a complete transformation. While on the flip side, Dhritarashtra Maharaj is hearing the same Bhagavad Gita, but there is no purification. His agenda was not purification, but his agenda was what is happening to his sons. So he got purification, but it took some time. And another example is Keshav Kashmiri. He also got purification, but the purification took time. So if the aim of studying Shastra is not purification, then it is going to take some time. No doubt, Shastra is going to purify us. Harinam Prabhu is going to purify us. But if that is not the aim, if the aim is head weight, then it's going to take some time. And Dhritarashtra Maharaj and Keshav Kashmiri are the best examples. And there are so many other examples that come, but these are the best examples that are there. And we see now that Keshav Kashmiri, who is a Digvijay Pandit, very scholarly, has entered Nadia, has entered Navadvip Dham. And as he has entered Navadvip Dham, he has only heard about Nimai Pandit. He has not seen him. He has only heard. And now Nimai is sitting with this group of friends, the whole gang, the whole toli is sitting together, just like Krishna would sit with his friends. This prior to Brahma Vimohan Leela. The whole gang will sit. And the planning is where they can steal next. That is their planning. That is their conference. Likewise, Nimai, who is not different from that same Krishna. Same mischief in Navadvip. He's sitting with his whole group. And Keshav Kashmiri is saying, but he's still not confirmed. He's still not sure that it is Nimai Pandit. So later we will find he comes and he's inquiring that is he Nimai Pandit? Who is he? Is he so beautiful? He's so effulgent. Is he Nimai Pandit? Because he was having mixed emotions. He thought Nimai Pandit means someone will be very aged. He should have a white dadi and white mustache and things like that. But he least expected that it's going to be a young boy, golden in complexion, very effulgent. So he just wanted to make sure, is he Nimai Pandit? Are you all sure? Is he Nimai Pandit? But now at this point, before he has gone around asking, he's seeing this most beautiful form of Nimai in the land of Navadvip. What is the glory of Navadvip, dear devotees? We always speak about Braj, but very rare, seldom do we get an opportunity to speak about Navadvip, Dham, Mahatmya. What is the glory of Navadvip? We see Krishna performed so many sweet, wonderful, astonishing pastimes in the land of Braj. But still, after he performed all of them, his heart was not very happy. There were still 3 unfulfilled desires of Krishna, to fulfill which he came as Shachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And he fulfilled all these desires in the land of Navadvip. When he came as Krishna, he did not realize what it meant to be a devotee. He could not realize it. When the devotees offer something to the Lord, what is going on in the heart of devotee? Mahaprabhu could not experience that. Krishna couldn't experience that. And the highest devotee is Radharani. So Krishna had that unfulfilled desire. And second, as Krishna, he did not distribute prema to one and all. Krishna works on justice. Ye yathamam prapadyanta. You surrender 50%, I will also reciprocate 50%. You reciprocate 75%, I will reciprocate 75%. You love me 10%, I will also love you 10%. So Krishna works on justice. Ye yathamam prapadyante. So Krishna gave prema, but not to everyone. So there were 2 desires or 2 things that Krishna couldn't fulfill. One, from the standpoint of a devotee, what is going on in the heart of Srimati Radharani. And second, prema was not freely distributed. But when he came as Shachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he was now in the mood of a devotee. So that unfulfilled desire that he had in his heart, that was now complete. And most importantly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like a madman, was going around distributing prema to everyone. Patra apatra vicharanam na kurute. He didn't say qualification. Patra apatra. Someone is qualified, someone is not qualified. Patra apatra na deke sthana sthan. Je jahata taha kare prema dan. He would shower his mercy freely to everyone. Mahaprabhu didn't see any qualification. Krishna would use his astra shastra to kill, but Mahaprabhu, he would kill the anarthas, the offenses in the heart. There is not even one example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu killing anyone. Nimai was very mischievous, but he was not so mischievous that he went around killing. He was mischievous, yes, but Nimai or Mahaprabhu never killed anyone. There cannot be a more compassionate form of the Lord, dear devotees. In fact, this is an understatement. He is the most compassionate form of the Supreme Lord. And we say his compassion extended so much that when he was going to Vrindavan, he stopped by at Kashi and he met Prakashananda Saraswati, head of the Mayavadis. And he not just showered his mercy to him, but all the 60,000 sannyas disciples also. 60,000 sannyas disciples. All of them got the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was going to Jagannath Puri, when he was in fact in Jagannath Puri, he was showered his mercy on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was also the head of the Mayavadis. Whether Prakashananda Saraswati, whether his 50,000 disciples, whether Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all of them became the recipients of Mahaprabhu's mercy. When Mahaprabhu went to South India Yatra, there also he showered his mercy. When he went to Prayag, he was drowning all the inhabitants, like in Damodar Ashtakam, in the translation we read. Through his wonderful pastimes in Gokul, he was drowning all the inhabitants in pools of ecstasy. Using the translation we read. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drowning all the inhabitants everywhere. And in Prayag especially, Mahaprabhu was like a volcano. He was erupting like a volcano. Ganga Jamuna Prayag Narila Dubaite Prabhu Dubaila Krishna Premera Vanyaite. Kaviraj Goswami says, Ganga Jamuna Prayag Narila Dubaite. You see, Prayag has Ganga, Jamuna, and Saraswati. Kaviraj Goswami says, Ganga, Jamuna, Prayag, Narila, Dubai. The Ganga and Yamuna could not drown Prayag as much Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drowned the residents of Prayag in Krishna Nam. Prabhu Dubaila Krishna Premera Vanyate. He was drowning the inhabitants of Prayag in Krishna Prem. More than even Ganga and Yamuna. So Mahaprabhu was slowly like a volcano. He was peaking and he was exploding at every place that he went. But there's a question that arises. Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes in Navadvip. Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes in Jagannath Puri. Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes in Godavari with a very famous confidential discussion with Rai Ramananda, not different from Vishaka Sakhi. And Mahaprabhu also went to Prayag. So for all these places, which is the place which is superior? Are all these places same? Or is there a place that is outrightly more glorious than the other places? Navadvip, Jagannath Puri, and Godavari. These three places we are primarily talking about. Are they all same? Or is there one that is more glorious, more superior? And our acharyas explain, yes, Navadvip Dham is way more superior to Jagannath Puri and Godavari. Why? There are multiple reasons to illustrate this. Why Navadvip is more glorious than any other place? We will just see a few reasons. Point number one, we see that some devotees may say that, oh, in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu experienced Vipralamba. He was in the mood of Radhika and experiencing separation from Krishna. So maybe that is a glorious place. But we also understand that Jagannath Puri is nothing but a manifestation of Dwarka Puri. It's a manifestation of Dwarka. Also in some instances, in fact, in most instances, we find it is related to Kurukshetra. Because there is union. Just like Radha and Krishna met in Kurukshetra, there was union. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radhika, Jagannath is Krishna. So there is union. So it is like Kurukshetra. But at the same time, there is also little separation. So it is considered a manifestation of Kurukshetra or Dwaraka. But nowhere do we find it is mapped to Vrindavan. Jagannath Puri is never mapped to Vrindavan. Why? Because Vrindavan has 12 forests. Kumudvan, Belvan, Bhandirvan, Madhuvan, Kokilavan, and so many other beautiful forests. Where do we find this forest in Jagannath Puri, dear devotees? Jagannath Puri does not have 12 forests. Jagannath Puri does not have 12 forests. But these 12 forests are there in Navadvip Dham. All the 12 forests of Braj are there in Navadvip. Koladvip, Ritudvip, Janudvip, Simantadvip, Modadrumadvip. These are nothing but manifestations of the 12 forests of Vrindavan. So the 12 forests, we don't find it anywhere, not even Jagannath Puri, not Godavari, not Prayag, but we find them in Navadvip. Point number two, we see that Navadvip has a place called as Panchaveni. In Prayag, you have 3 rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. But in Navadvip, you have a place called as Panchaveni, where you have Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Alaknanda, Narmada, Kaveri, Sindhu. Name is Pancha, but the rivers are more than Pancha. The name is Pancha, but the rivers go more than Pancha. Our acharyas explain there are hundreds and thousands of rivers that are there in Navadvip. They're all doing their bhajan. Some are there prakat, some are there aprakat. So first point we saw, Navadvip glorious than Jagannath Puri, because Jagannath Puri does not have 12 forests, but Braj has it, and Navadvip also has it. Second, Navadvip glorious, more glorious than Prayag, because Prayag has only 3 rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. But our Navadvip Dham, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains as Panchaveni. Name is Pancha, but rivers are more than Pancha. Point number 3. In Jagannath Puri, we find there is the ocean. And this ocean is very glorious. Why? Because Mahaprabhu bathed the body of Haridas Thakur in this ocean. Very glorious. Mahaprabhu, dear devotees, Mahaprabhu did not do the last rites, final rites for anyone. It was exclusively reserved only for Thakur Mahashaya. Why? Because the tongue was always vibrating Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mahaprabhu is showing that if someone's tongue is constantly vibrating, Mahaprabhu is saying, I will do the final rites for them. He didn't do it for anyone, dear devotees, no one, except Haridas Thakur. In the Antilila, we find in the 3rd chapter, the passing away of Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu is holding the body of Haridas Thakur and is dancing. If you go to someone's last rites, you will not find the household members holding the body and dancing with it. But Mahaprabhu is holding the body and is dancing with the body of Haridas Thakur. So much ecstasy. And he bathes the body of Haridas Thakur in the ocean. So the ocean is very glorious in Jagannath Puri. But that same ocean, our acharyas explain, is also there in Navadvip as Samudra Gara Ghat. This is a place in Navadvip, Samudra Gara Ghat, where that same ocean is there in Navadvip. And it's a bathing ghat, so you can take bath. So again, Navadvip is still glorious. Whether Jagannath Puri, whether Prayag, or now whether the ocean of Jagannath Puri, Navadvip is still glorious. Point number 4. This is just an extension of point number 1. Navadvip is called as Gupta Vrindavan. Gupta means hidden. It is called hidden Vrindavan. Why? Because as we mentioned, all the pastime places of Braj are there in Navadvip. Like Ritudvip has Radhakund. Very easy to remember. Ritu R, Radhakund R. Ritudvip has Radhakund. Koladvip is Govardhan. Just like we have Giriraj Govardhan Braj, Koladvip is Giriraj Govardhan. We have all the Leela Sthalis. We have Nidhivan, we have Seva Kunj, we have Radhakund, we have Sham Kund, we have Giriraj. We don't have Radhakund and Sham Kund in Jagannath Puri, dear devotees. We don't have Radhakund and Sham Kund. Radhakund, we celebrated the appearance of Radhakund few days back, Bahulashtami. We don't find that liquefied form of Radhika in Jagannath Puri. But we find it in Navadvip Dham, in Ritudvip. So our acharyas explain Navadvip is called Gupta Vrindavan. It's a hidden Vrindavan. Point number 5. Till now we have discussed 4 points. Point number 5. Krishna in Vraj has Ashtakaliya Leela. So 24 hours is divided into 8 parts. And Krishna has Ashta. Ashta means 8. So 8 time slots. And in every time slot, Krishna has one activity, one pastime that he performs, called as Ashtakaliya Leela. Like we have Purvahan Leela, Madhyayan Leela, and so on and so forth. 8 different time slots. Mahaprabhu or Nimai in Navadvip also has Ashtakaliya Leela. In fact, we have a book, Gauranga Ashtakale Leela, the different pastimes that Mahaprabhu does as a part of his Ashtakale Leela in Navadvip Dham. But he never has any Ashtakale Leela. No scripture talks about any Ashtakale Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. This is one of the most important aspects of Radharani and Krishna, which Nimai demonstrates in Navadvip, but doesn't demonstrate that in Jagannath Puri. No scripture talks about the 8 time slots of Nimai or Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, but it is there in Navadvip. This was point number 5. And last point, dear devotees, point number 6. We see that we have Jagannath Puri and we have Godavari. Both these places are Aishwaryamai Leelas. Why? Because both these places, the Lord is worshipped as God, is worshipped as Bhagavan. When he went to meet Ramananda Rai, Pahila dekhila tumar sannyasi swarup, ebe tumar dekhe moy Shamagopa Roop. First, he was like sannyasi swarup. Then he was like Krishna. And then again sannyasi. And then again Krishna. Ramananda Rai saying, Pahila dekhila tumar sannyasi swarup. First you are like sannyasi. Ebe tumar dekhe moy Shamagopa Roop. Now you are like Shamagopa Roop. What is the reality? Are you sannyasi or are you Krishna? And Mahaprabhu says, oh Ramananda Rai, you are so glorious. You are seeing Krishna everywhere. He gives the credit to Ramananda Rai. But he does demonstrate his Bhagavata, Aishwaryamai Leela, where he's demonstrating his opulence also. He is there as Rasaraj Mahabhav in Godavari. While in Jagannath Puri, we find that Mahaprabhu was in Gambhira and he has 3.5 intimate associates, Kaviraj Goswami explains. Ramananda Rai, Swarup Damodar, Shiki Mahiti. Now fundamental question arises, either there should be 3 associates or 4 associates. What is this concept of 3.5? Either there should be 3 or there should be 4. What is the concept of 3.5 associates? Kaviraj Goswami explains Mahaprabhu has 3.5 associates, which means Ramananda Rai, Swarup Damodar, Shiki Mahiti, and Shiki Mahiti's sister Madhavi Devi. She's considered half. Why half? Not that she was handicapped or anything. That is not the purport. She was perfect. But she's considered half because she was in a feminine body and she could not intimately associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like the other male members could associate. Ramananda Rai, Swarup Damodar, and Shiki Mahiti could very freely go and associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Shiki Mahiti's sister, Madhavi Devi, she worshipped Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but in her heart, but never in close quarters. So she's not considered a full associate, but she is considered a half associate. So in Jagannath Puri, we find not everyone could be very intimate with the Supreme Lord. There was still a distance. There was still some distance, except these 3.5 personalities. But in Vrindavan, we find the Supreme Lord, when he comes in Vrindavan, there is Madhuryamai Leela. There is sweet, wonderful pastimes that Sri Krishna performs in Braj. And second, most important, whenever we have to see the superiority of any Leela Sthali over any other Leela Sthali, we see 2 aspects. First, whether that place has Madhuryamai Leelas. And second, whether that place has Laukik Sadbandhuvat Sambandha, which means whether there is natural human-like relations. In Braj, Krishna has Laukik Sadbandhuvat Sambandha. He has natural human-like relations. No one considers him God. No one considers him God. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary, he says, there is a similarity between the atheist and the Brajavasis. What is the similarity? Both don't consider Krishna as Bhagavan. Brajavasis don't consider Krishna as God, and atheists anyway don't consider Krishna as God. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in only one way, the atheists and the Brajavasis are the same, because they don't consider Krishna as Bhagavan. So in Vrindavan, Vrindavan is glorious over Mathura or Dwaraka. Why? We always say this, Vrindavan is very glorious. Why? because there is madhuryamay pastimes there. And second and most important, there is laukik sadbandhuvat sambandha. Similarly, we find in Navadvip Dham, there is madhuryamay pastimes. There is madhuryamay pastimes in Navadvip. And second, there is laukik sadbandhuvat sambandha. In Navadvip, Mahaprabhu or Nima is having human-like pastimes. When he goes anywhere else, his godly Bhagavata is coming out. But in Navadvip, there is laukik sadbandhuvat sambandha. And our acharyas explain this is the reason that puts Navadvip Dham more superior to even Jagannath Puri or Prayag or even Godavari, the place where Mahaprabhu spoke to Ramananda Rai. Confidential discussions happened there. Confidential pastimes happened in Jagannath Puri also. But these 6 reasons our acharyas give that illustrate the superiority of Navadvip Dham over any other Dham. Quickly to recap. First, Braj has 12 forests and Navadvip also has 12 forests. You don't find it anywhere else. Point number 2, we find the concept of Panchaveni. We mapped it with Prayag. Name is Panchaveni, but rivers are more than Pancha. There are so many hundreds and thousands of rivers. Third, the ocean is glorious in Jagannath Puri because Thakur Mahashaya's body was bathed. But that same ocean is also there in Navadvip as Samudragara Ghat. Point number 4, Navadvip is naturally called as Gupta Vrindavan. Koladvip has Giriraj. Ritudvip has Radhakund, Shamkund. We don't find Radhakund and Shamkund in Jagannath Puri or any other place. Point number 5, just like Krishna has Ashtakaliya Leela in Braj, Nimai has Ashtakaliya Leela in Navadvip. He doesn't have it in Jagannath Puri. And point number 6, Jagannath Puri and Godavari has predominant Aishwaryamai pastimes. But here we find in Navadvip, we see there is Madhuryamai, Madhurata, and there is Laukik Sadbandhuvat Sambandha. There is natural human-like relations that puts Navadvip above any other place. Navadvip and Braj are same. But between Navadvip and Jagannath Puri, Navadvip is superior. This is not a sectarian point. This is Gaudiya. This is Gaudiya Sampradaya 101. This is what our acharyas have given. And now we find in that holy land of Navadvip Dham, Keshav Kashmiri is coming to see the most beautiful form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vrishabhanu Sutan Vitavamatanum Yamuna Tatananda Sutam Murali Kalagi Nodaparam Bhaja Godrumakanana Kunjavidum. Bhaktivinoda Thakur so beautifully he explains Vrishabhanu Sutan Vitavamatanum. Vrishabhanu Suta, which means Srimati Radharani, the daughter of Vrishabhanu Nandini. Daughter of Vrishabhanu. Daughter of Vrishabhanu is Srimati Radharani. Vrishabhanu Suta Anvita. Anvita. What does Anvita mean? We use this word Anvita. Mangalacharan. Shri Guru Shri Utapa Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Agrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Anvita Ivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakvita. So we use this word Anvita. What does it mean? Along with. In basic English. So Vrishabhanu Sutanvita, along with Vrishabhanu Nandini, Srimati Radharani, there is personality present. Who's the personality? Munat Nagaranand. Nand is there. Nandanandan, Yadanandan, like Nandan, Yashodanandan, Devanandan. The audio recording of Prabhupada, where Prabhupada goes on this way. So, Nanda Sutta, that is Sri Krishna, Yamuna Tatanagara, he is standing on the banks of Jamuna. But to his Vamanum, to his left, who Vrishabhanusuta, that is Srimati. So Krishna is standing, and to his left, Radhika is standing, and they are there on the banks of Jamuna. And Ekalageta Vinoda Para, playing the Murli. Venu Vashi, 3 flutes. These are the 3 prominent. So there are subcategories. You see in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada explains that has flutes for cows, Krishna for the sakhas. Krishna has kinds of. Here he is playing the Murali Kalagit of sweet melodies on the flute. Oh, that Radharani and that Krishna who are there on the banks of Jamuna have now fused, have now combined together to form Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance described? Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidhu. Vidhu is the moon. He is like the rising moon from behind the groves in Kanana. Where? In the forest of Godruma. Bhaja Godruma Kana Kunja Vidum. He is the rising moon from behind the grove of the forest. Bhaja Godruma Kanana Kunja Vidum. Thakur says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the rising moon from behind the groves. Another, we don't groves in Jagannath Puri. We don't groves in Jagannath Puri. In Tulasi Arti also we sing Vilas Kunje Diovas. Kunja means grove. Braj has groves. Navadvip has groves. Jagannath Puri doesn't have groves. So Navadvip and Braj are very similar. No difference. So that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like the rising moon from behind the groves of the forest of Godrum is none other than Radha and Krishna of Dwapar. And how beautiful is he? Our Acharya has very beautifully explained. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so beautiful, dear devotees. The day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas, he went to Katwa, take sannyas from Keshav Bharati. He went to Katwa to cut his hair. He went to Keshav Bharati Maharaj. And all the Nadiyavasis, they were heartbroken when they got to know that Nimai has left home. They begged, they pleaded, they beseeched that, can you just stay at home? Can you not go? What wrong have we done? Can you just stay at home? But somehow Nimai sneaked out. And only a few devotees knew, like Nityananda Prabhu, Brahmananda Bharati, Chandrasekhar, etc. But there, a very interesting point. The barber whose job was to shave the black, soft black hair. Please hear this, dear devotees, very carefully. Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj explains that barber, his name was Madhu. And his job was to cut the hair. But the Nadiyavasis were thinking to themselves, your name is Madhu. Madhu means sweetness. But the job that you're doing is not sweet. You are spreading cruelty. Just like the Brajavasis criticized Akrura. Your name is Akrura, but the job that you're doing is Krura. It is cruel activity. Similarly, the Nadiyavasis here were thinking, your name is Madhu. You should spread sweetness. But what are you doing? That soft black hair of Nimai, you're about to shave it. You should not be Madhu. You don't deserve this name Madhu. You're not spreading sweetness. And his hand was shaking. He has cut the hair of so many people. This is his bread and butter. This is his forte. He has done it so many times, but his hands were shaking. He did not want to cut the hair of Nimai, but Nimai was looking at him and almost indicating, please shave my hair. And he started doing it. And all the soft black hair of Nimai were falling down to the ground. And as they were falling down to the ground, the heart of the Nadiyavasis. They were thinking to themselves, why didn't we leave this world before seeing all this? Just like the Brajavasis thought, if Krishna had to leave Vrindavan, we would have as well left this world. Ye din dekhna hi nahi padta. Nadivasis were thinking, Nimai was always there with us with soft black hair, and now he's shaving up. Why is he doing this? And why is this barber doing it? His name is Madhu. Why is he doing this? After the hair was completely shaven, this barber, he was so disturbed that he had taken up this profession. He was traumatized. He has done it so many times, but he was traumatized. He couldn't think to himself that, why is it that I'm feeling so much guilt in my heart? He threw all the the paraphernalia that he had for haircut, the scissors, the shaving cream and everything, the razor. He threw everything. I don't want to use them. And Srila Guru Govinda Maharaj explains, from that day on, as Prayaschitta, because he took the sweet away from the life of the Nadiyavasis. Nimai was the biggest sweet. Nimai was the sweet, but he took the sweetness away from them. He helped Nimai take sannyas. So now as Prayaschitta, this barber ended up becoming a sweet shop seller, sweet seller. He gave up his profession, his haircut business, he gave it up. And he made a sweet shop and he started selling sweets as Prayaschitta that, oh Nadiyavasis, I took the sweetness away from your life. I took the biggest sweet of your life as Nimai. But now as Prayaschitta, I want to give some sweet. I know this is, in no way this is a compensation. In no way this is equal. But please accept this sweet and forgive me. I do not intend to do it. And that is why as Prayaschitta, I have given up my profession. From that day on, that barber never cut the hair. He has done it so many times. But that was the last time he ever did. Showing the world that the beauty of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so much. So many times we glorify the black hair. And sometimes we may think, oh, every Krishna also black hair, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also black hair, soft black hair, soft black hair, soft black hair. And sometimes we may think, oh, maybe it's an exaggeration. Maybe it is like my hair only, nothing different. Maybe it is a little more softer. But this pastime illustrates, dear devotees, that if a barber has to give up his profession, how much it hurt him, how much he was in guilt, that he gave up his profession to start a new profession. And as Prayaschitta, to make his name worthwhile, Madhu, he was selling sweets and begging the Nadiyavasis, can you please forgive me? Can you please forgive me? And that beautiful, soft, black hair of Nadiya was given samadhi under the tree where Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And that tree has become Amar. It has become immortal in Katwa. So even Mahaprabhu's hair, our hair, when it is cut, the barber trashes all of them. It is not given samadhi. When was the last time our hair was cut and it was given samadhi? Doesn't happen. But for Nimai, his hair was cut and given samadhi. How beautiful is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear devotees. How beautiful is Krishna. In fact, our Acharyas comment that when the Sakhis like Chandravali, one time Chandravali was coming back after seeing Krishna and she met with Radhika Sakhi, Radharani Sakhi. And she told Radhika Sakhi that, oh, I saw Krishna today. And Krishna was so beautiful. His eyes were so beautiful. His arms were so beautiful. His feet were so beautiful. His curly black hair was so beautiful. Krishna was so beautiful. Chandravali is saying. And in reply, Radharani Sakhi says, oh, you're so blessed. Because our Sakhi, our Praneshwari, that is referring to Srimati Radharani, she has never seen the whole body of Krishna at one go. Why? This Sakhi explains that when Radharani sees Krishna, when she sees the eye of Krishna, She's stuck. Her engine doesn't move ahead. She cannot see anything else. She's stuck. She just sees only the eye of Krishna and she cannot see anything else. When she sees the arms of Krishna, her eyes are stuck. She cannot see anything else. So Radhika Sakhi, she tells Chandravali, oh, you're very glorious. You have seen from head to toe in one go. Our Sakhi has never seen that in one go. She sees one limb of Krishna's body and she's completely unconscious. She's completely drowning and relishing the nectar of that one limb of Shri Krishna. How beautiful is Shri Krishna? How beautiful is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes a very interesting point. This is the last few minutes, dear devotees. I know we are over time. This is just the last few minutes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that when the devotee goes back home, back to Godhead, and sees Krishna, he begs forgiveness. Why? Very interesting. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says when the devotee goes back home, he begs forgiveness. He says, he tells the Lord that, my dear Lord, please forgive me. And Krishna says, why? You have come back home, back to Godhead. Why are you asking for forgiveness? The devotee tells Krishna that, my dear Lord, so many times I compared you to the lotus. But now that I have seen you, you are 1,000,000 times more beautiful than the lotus. My dear Lord, please forgive me. In the material world, lotus is the best example. And people can resonate with the lotus. That is why I compared you with the lotus, my dear Lord. But in reality, you are 1,000,000 times more beautiful. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains this when bhav rises in the heart and when the devotee sees Krishna, he literally feels guilt and is begging forgiveness that, my dear Lord, maaf kar do. Hey Bhagavan, maaf kar do. Please forgive me. You are more beautiful than a lotus, but material world, there is no other example what to do. That is why I gave the example of a lotus. That is how beautiful Krishna is. We can't even imagine. We can imagine only up to a lotus, but 10,000,000 times more beautiful than a lotus, oh, we can't even imagine. And Krishna, who is 10,000,000 times more beautiful than a lotus, Radharani is 10,000,000 times more beautiful than that Krishna, who is 10,000,000 times more beautiful than that lotus. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, oh, he is a combination of that Radharani, who is 10,000,000 times more beautiful than that Krishna, who is 10,000,000 times more beautiful than that lotus. Both, who are 10,000,000 times more beautiful, have come together, have fused in one form as Shachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu. How beautiful. And this is what Keshav Kashmiri is seeing. All his panditya, all his panditya, all his knowledge has gone backseat. And now he's seeing the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's seeing the form of Nimai and thinking, wow, he is so beautiful. Is he really Nimai Pandit? Do I have to really battle him? The Lord is very beautiful, dear devotees. Very, very beautiful. But interesting point to be understood from this Keshav Kashmiri episode is devotees follow the principle of avyartha kalatvam. They don't waste time. Avyartha kalatvam. Those devotees who are very exalted, you will always find them. Avyartha kalatvam. They will not waste time. They will always speak about Krishna. They will remember Krishna. They will read about Krishna. They will share about Krishna. They will chant Krishna's name. They are always absorbed. Avyartha kalatvam. They will not take part in such debates like Keshav Kashmiri. Arguments, debates. Devotees don't have interest in all these things. I finally want to end with this. One time in Bihar, there was a debate going on. And the debate, the topic was, who is better, Tulsidas or Surdas? And there was a debate going on. Kaun behtar hai, Tulsidas ki Surdas ji? Both are very glorious. Tulsidas is the author of Ramcharitmanas, and Surdas, oh, his samadhi is there in Chandra Sarovar at Govardhan. Those devotees who have been to Chandra Sarovar, Govardhan Parikrama, will find his samadhi is there. So both are very, very glorious. So debate was going on, and both sides, people were saying, oh, Surdas is better. One was saying Tulsidas is better. Another was saying, no, Tulsidas is better, Surdas is better, back and forth. At that time, one young boy, he came to that assembly. And he was hearing this. And then he quoted a verse. When he quoted that verse, all the debate came to a conclusion. All the time that people were battling that Surdas is better, Tulsidas was better. This one boy out of nowhere, he came and he quoted a verse. And everything was shant, very peaceful. He quoted a very beautiful verse. Sur, tulasi, sasi. Surda, sur. Sur is like Sura, is like the sun. Sura, tulasi, sasi. Tulasi is like the moon. Kahat Keshava Das. Who is saying Keshava Das? Sura, tulasi, sasi. Kahat Keshava Das. Abke kavi khadyotasam. The modern day kavis, they are like khadyot. Khadyot means glowworm. Abke kavi khadyotasam jahatha karata prakash. They are like glowworms, they are just effulgent, but not very effulgent. But Tulsidas and Surdas, they are like the sun and the moon. And from where did the glowworms get the adhikar to talk about the glories or to talk about who is superior? They are like glowworms. Sura tulasi sasi kahata Keshav Das abke kavi khadyotasam jahataha karata prakash. Modern day kavis, they're like khadyot, they're like glowworm. Where is glowworm and where is the sun? Where is glowworm and where is the moon? No comparison. No comparison, absolutely. So this young boy quoted this verse and all the debate. We're speaking about Keshav Kashmiri. Keshav Kashmiri was into debates. So this young boy quoted this verse and everything was like calm. Both sides said, yeah, actually this is correct. Why were we battling? It's almost like Rajas and Tamas took over us. Why were we battling? Dear devotees, this boy was none other than my worshipable spiritual master Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj. When he was young, this pastime happened in Bihar. I heard it. Maharaj has personally shared it, and I heard it from one of my godbrothers. Maharaj, when he was small, he quoted this verse in one of the debates that was going on. Sura tulasi sasi kahata Keshava Das abke kavi khadyotasam jahataha karata prakash. So devotees are not into debates, are not into arguments. And whenever they will see, they will just try to make sure that it's settled down as soon as possible. Because all that the devotees are interested in bhajan. Hari kathai katha, baki sab vyata hi vyatha. Hari katha is everything, remaining everything is simply sapping our time. It's taking our time. Devotional service and anything pertaining to Krishna and service of the Vaishnavas, this is everything. Remaining everything is to the side. Having said this, I very humbly want to stop here. Thank you very much, devotees, for very kindly being on the call. And thank you once again for very kindly blessing me and praying for me on my birthday. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.